Dear friends, today we are going to discuss about production planning module. Who can learn SAP production planning module? Because in our previous videos we have discussed about why to learn SAP production planning module, and also we have discussed about what are the prerequisites or basic requirements for learning this SAP production planning module, and also we have discussed about what are all the advantages of learning SAP production planning module. And in this video we are going to discuss about who can learn SAP production planning module. Because we have already discussed many times, in order to learn any functional module in SAP, the candidate should have to possess domain experience in the relevant areas. So similarly, for learning PP module also, SAP has recommended some basic requirements or some domain experience for the candidates before getting into this SAP production planning module. That means what? All the candidates should have to have strong domain experience in the areas of production. That is the meaning of domain experience. So in this video, we will discuss very clearly who can learn SAP production planning module step by step and what is the requirement. The candidates should have strong domain experience in handling the batch management activities. What is that? Either the candidates should possess strong domain experience in handling the batch management activities. They can be able to learn SAP production planning module. Or if the candidates are having strong domain experience in handling the repetitive manufacturing activities, that is run activities, then they can be able to learn and implement this production planning module. And they have also given some different levels of domain experience as well. And what is the third one? If the candidates are having strong domain experience in handling production planning, PP and process industries activities, then they can be able to learn and implement this SAP production planning module. Or once if the consultants or if the candidates are having strong domain experience in handling sales and operational planning activities, that is SOP activities, then they can handle the entire PP module effectively. This is also one sort of domain experience. Or if the candidates are having strong domain experience in handling discrete manufacturing activities, then they can be also able to learn this production planning module and they can be able to implement this production planning module effectively. And also they have given some different domain experience level. If the candidates are possesses very strong domain experience in handling the MRP activities, that is materials requirement planning activities, then they can be able to learn and implement this SAP PP module. So these are all the strong recommendations given by SAP for all the candidates who are really interested to get into this SAP production planning module. Without having any domain experience, then it will be very difficult for the consultants to learn. It is very difficult for the consultants to implement, and it is very difficult for the consultant to design. It is very difficult for the consultant to support and execute the entire production planning stuff. So these are all the domain experiences which are mandatory for all the candidates who are willing to learn this SAP PP module, as well as who are willing to implement this production planning module for an organization in the real time. So these are all the domain experience which are required for the candidates in order to learn this SAP production planning module. So we will discuss each and every level of domain experience in detail once again. The candidate should have strong domain experience in handling the batch management activities, or if they are having some strong domain experience in handling the repetitive manufacturing, that is REM activities, they can be able to implement this SAP production planning module. And similarly, if the candidates are having strong domain experience in handling production planning PP and process industries activities, that is PPPI activities, then they can be able to learn and implement this production planning module effectively. And once if the candidates are having strong domain experience in handling sales and operational planning, that is SOP activities, then they can be able to implement this production planning module effectively. Once again, they have given some different levels of domain experience. Say for example, if the candidates are very strong in handling discrete manufacturing activities, then they can be able to learn this production planning module. And similarly, if the candidates are having strong domain experience in handling the MRP, that is materials requirements planning activities, then they can be able to learn and implement this production planning module for an organization in the real time. So in this video, we have discussed very clearly about the different levels of domain experience which are mandatory for learning this SAP production planning module, and also what are all the important activities to be implemented in the SAP production planning module and all the stuff. Once if the consultants are very strong in the above discussed activities or above discussed functionalities, or at least if they have strong domain experience in the above discussed functionalities, then only they can be able to learn, then only they can be able to implement, then only they can be able to execute, then only they can be able to support, then only they can be able to design the entire production planning module in the real-time environment. So in this video, we have discussed very clearly about the different levels of domain experience which are needed for learning and implementing this SAP production planning module for an organization. So here I want to introduce myself to you. I am Raja. I am having more than 20 plus years of experience in the SAP industry. I have worked as a consultant. I have worked as a practice head. I have worked as a delivery head. And also I have involved in many implementation projects. Also I have done many production support projects. And also I have involved in many rollout and upgrade projects as well. And about my on-site experience, I have more than 5 years of on-site experience, both in Middle East and Europe, handling European and Middle East clients. Regarding my certification areas and interests, I have done my certification in finance. I have done my certification in business process planning and consolidation module, that is BPC, which is the more advanced module for consolidation reporting. I have also done my certification in SAP S4HANA Simple Finance module. Similarly, I have completed my certification in SAP S4HANA Simple Logistics. And very recently, I have done two different certifications. One is I have done my certification in SAP S4HANA Central Finance. And also, I have recently completed my certification in SAP Business and Revenue Innovation Management, that is SAP Hybris module. That's all about myself. So I think in this video, you people are very clear about the different levels of domain experience which are needed to learn and implement SAP PP module, or in other words, the different levels of domain experience which are mandatory for learning this SAP production planning module. Only those consultants who are having strong domain experience in the above discussed functionalities, then only they can be able to learn, then only they can be able to implement, then only they can be able to execute, then only they can be able to support, then only they can be able to design the end-to-end production planning activities in the real-time environment for an organization. In our later videos, we will discuss about different implementation strategies for both ECC and SAP S4HANA, because we are using different methodologies of implementation, or in other words, we are using different implementation methodologies for both for ECC as well as S4HANA, because for our traditional ECC system, we are using accelerated SAP methodology for implementation. But if we are using SAP S4HANA system, then we are using SAP Activate methodology for implementation. So we will discuss each and everything in detail in our next videos. So in this video, finally, I think you people are very clear about the different levels of domain experience which are mandatory to learn, which are mandatory to implement, which are mandatory to support, which are mandatory to execute, and which are mandatory to design the end-to-end production planning module for an organization in the real-time environment. Thank you.